and the collectors of the universe. The History of Masters of the Universe 1982 edition just passed 100,000 views in just a couple months. Wow!
You know how time flies when you're, having fun.
Thanks to everyone who gave it a view and for all the wonderful memories left in the comment section. Perfect time for your friendly neighborhood nostalgist to blast off to Eternia again for the History of Masters of the Universe 1983 edition.
What's an
Nostalgist, Ramy.
That's a person who studies old ruins and tells us what people were like in the past.
Well, I wouldn't call them ruins. Most 80s toys were built to last, both in the hand as well as in the heart. This one is courtesy of Patreon Special Missions. Thanks to General Level Tribe member Chris Iavarone for this request. And also thanks to Big Bad Toy Store, where Masters of the Universe and Princesses of Power can still collect a wide range of He-Man and She-Ra collectibles, from classics to vintage style to the adorable pocket-sized Mega Constructs. Mattel enjoyed a massive success in 1982.
Only because He-Man showed up.
So it was natural to offer all of the initial year's toys again the following year. With 8 figures already offered in the initial year, and being quite a bit larger than the main competitors of Star Wars and G.I. Joe figures, it was important to not overwhelm the new fans of Eternia. The collect-them-all mentality that Kenner had encouraged with the Star Wars line could be a lot of fun, or a lot of heartbreak when a line offered several figures and you could only have 1 or 2. So fans appreciated a little bit of time to get caught up on their collection. This is why only 6 individual figures were released in the sophomore year, along with 3 beasts and 2 vehicles. Or is one of them a vehicle and mini playset combo? And a couple of multi-packs to get caught up quickly. Let's start with the heroes. There were only 2 heroes offered on single card in '83, but they're 2 of the most memorable characters in all of Masters of the Universe. Rather than just releasing similar figures with different heads and body armors, Mattel began adding unique gimmicks to certain figures in '83. And one of the most memorable Masters gimmicks is Ram Man's ramming power. He could collapse his legs into the body, which spring-loaded Ram Man, and launched him into action by pressing the button on the back of his boot. Rammy also acted as a launch base, sending certain space-worthy figures into orbit.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Ram Man provided countless hours of fun for me as a kid.
I did? Oh, I did, yeah.
Ramming things with just enough force that it never caused any damage to the objects being rammed, or Rammy himself, but with enough force that you didn't have to smash toys together, WWF LJN style. The other heroic master released in 1983 was equally memorable. The Master of Disguise named...
Name? I never had one, not a real one anyway.
Luckily, Eternia was a world of many creative names, and it didn't take them long to come up with one for this world-class actor.
One that is fitting for your many talents.
And many faces. Hey, that's it. Man-E-Faces.
Man-E was like 3 toys in one. Like Ram Man, he featured a completely original body which housed a spinning face feature, containing his normal face, along with something more terrifying.
If you don't care for monsters, perhaps you prefer a robot.
Yes, how about a robot?
What is your command?
How about 80s Robot Dance Party? He also included a blaster, and a very rare version included an assortment of accessories, affectionately known by fans as Man-E weapons. Another beast was released in '83, if you can call such an elegant creature a beast.
Look, it's Zoar.
And if you don't know who Zoar is, here's Skeletor to fill you in.
It's the sorceress, you boob!
Yep, although the box describes Zoar as male, and the comics portray him as a separate character, on the show, Zoar was the falcon form of the sorceress when she left Castle Grayskull.
She's powerless away from Grayskull.
Although an official sorceress figure wouldn't be released until 1987, and is one of the more rare figures in the line because of the waning interest by that point, it's cool that there is an actual sorceress toy going all the way back to 1983. Zoar included armor, because everything on Eternia wears armor, even the animals, a stand to perch on, and a flapping wing gimmick by pushing a button on the back of one of her feet.
Come on, Track, you're next.
2 vehicles were released in '83, although the first one could be considered a character as well. The Attack Track, added to Randor's ground forces, with the first battery-powered Masters of the Universe vehicle.
Attack Track has power that just won't quit.
Make tracks, Skeletor!
Not content to just have 2 traditional rolling treads, like '82's G.I. Joe Mobat tank, the Attack Track had 4 treads that flipped up and over as it rolled, allowing it to climb over obstacles regular tanks couldn't traverse.
Can you make it, Track?
You even need to ask?
No problem.
Full stop. Arrival in 2.709 seconds.
And it came equipped with 2 pivoting rear laser cannons that could blast foes on the ground or in the air.
Alert! Alert! Air vehicle approaching for attack. Suggestion, let's clip its wings.
Or certain letters of the alphabet, like the letter C, which the Attack Track wasn't apparently very fond of. Thanks to the personality given to the computer within, Track was one of the most lovably obnoxious, or is that obnoxiously lovable, high-tech vehicles of the early 80s, right alongside Kit from Knight Rider.
Naturally.
Thank you, Michael.
As awesome as Castle Grayskull had been the previous year, Mattel added onto it in 1983 with Point Dread and the Talon Fighter.
I'll use the Talon Fighter to stop Skeletor.
In a flash, He-Man's hurled through space and time.
Unlike the Wind Raider, which seated only 1 figure, the Talon Fighter had enough space to seat 2 figures uncomfortably. It also included the mini playset Point Dread, which could stand on its own, or be split and attached to one of the towers of Castle Grayskull, allowing the Talon Fighter to perch atop He-Man's home, ready to deploy when trouble arose. A nice touch is the coloring, which is similar to Zoar, or the Sorceress, allowing this fighter to be more colorful than the standard moldy green of the castle, but still seem right at home. Like all of the other toys released, it included a mini-comic, but took the world expanding one step further by including a record too.
Point Dread and the Talon Fighter with record and storybook.
Now kids could put on a vinyl record and hear the adventures of He-Man and Skeletor, in addition to reading about them in the comics.
Let's hear He-Man and Skeletor on the Point Dread story.
I, Skeletor, will finally defeat He-Man.
Surrender to the power of Point Dread's Talon Fighter.
You win, He-Man, but I'll be back.
Since the ranks were lopsided the first year with 5 heroes, 6 if you include Zodak after his change of heart, plus a hero vehicle and playset, Mattel attempted to even the Eternian battlefield a bit the following year with 6 villains compared to 3 heroes.
Oh! I don't get it.
Well, you see, Rami, you can't have a hero without a villain, and part of the fun of playing with a Man-at-Arms, Tila, or Stratos figure is beating up on Skeletor and his henchmen.
The real threat is He-Man.
That's right, but the evil forces of Skeletor added their own threat with this sleazy cyborg.
Trapjaw, wizard of weapons.
Taking a page out of G.I. Joe's book, Trapjaw came with an arsenal of weaponry that could be attached to his robotic arm. And the ones that weren't being used could be stored on his belt to help prevent them from getting lost. Throw in his mechanical jaws, the loop on the top of his head that allowed him to zip line across a room.
Huh. Just like in Korea. Or was that Vegas?
And the spring-loaded power punch. Plus the glow-in-the-dark ring included. Trapjaw was one of the most fun toys a kid could have in the 80s. And one of my personal favorites from any toy line when I was growing up. And another villain He-Man had to keep an eye out for was this guy.
Tri-klops, master of vision.
Tri-klops also had a unique play feature all to himself. A spinning visor on his head that allowed him to spy on He-Man.
Hey, everything's spinning. I can't see.
Oops, sorry about that. Tri-klops also included a sword to duel He-Man, and a glow-in-the-dark ring as well. Since a heroic female figure had been offered in the initial year with Teela, and Mattel was all about the repaints and reuse of parts to keep production costs down, Skeletor's side got their own Queen of Commotion with
Evil-lyn, sorceress of night.
Skeletor was already a handful with his mastery of dark magic, but with Evil-lyn, her wand, and severe case of jaundice adding to his sinister powers, the heroes of Eternia had finally met their match. And if we're talking repaints, it doesn't get much more repaintier than this guy.
I will make another He-Man, an evil one called Faker.
He-Man's evil robotic clone.
A perfect likeness of He-Man.
Well, yeah, except for the blue skin and orange hair. Although I've come to appreciate this figure and character since his initial release, I do remember seeing him on the pegs in '83 and thinking, what the heck is this? They weren't even trying. While a lot of the reuse of parts didn't bother me because of the original heads and accessories included, Faker seemed like an extremely lazy idea at the time. It was just He-Man's body with Skeletor's body harness. Although we're all used to him now, he was gaudy when I first laid eyes on him. Plus he only appeared for about a minute on the cartoon, and didn't even look like the toy.
How do you like that, hero?
Well, that's better, I have to admit.
I have your power too.
Okay, yeah, I guess he had He-Man's power as well if you want to use that as a selling point. But before we even got to know him, he was hurtling down a chasm, never to be seen again.
Wait! Stop!
And another recolor was this big cat. Since Skeletor was initially conceived as the dark mirror image of He-Man, it made perfect sense to have him also ride atop a ferocious feline. And get one more use out of the tiger mold from Mattel's Big Jim line.
Bad idea. Very bad idea.
But this wasn't just a lazy repaint. This, I dare say, may be one of the coolest repaints of the 80s. Rather than just giving him a different color, Mattel introduced the process of flocking to the world of Eternia, making Skeletor's steed fuzzy all over. This same technique would be used for Mossman 2 years later. In addition to being offered on his own, since He-Man had been offered in a 2-pack with Battle Cat the year before, Skeletor and Panther were released in their own 2-pack in '83. For kids who foolishly passed on getting Skeletor the previous year.
No one says no to Skeletor, fool!
That's an impressive lineup of baddies.
Yes, but there's still one more villain to deal with.
You're right, He-Man. Rounding out the forces of evil was this barbarian bird.
Hey, it's Screech, Skeletor's robot bird.
Screech had a very different characterization from comic to cartoon. In the comics, he was an actual living falcon. On the cartoon, he was a robot with some communication issues.
Screech, you stupid machine, come to your master! I command you!
He included the same armor and stand as Zoar, and he was offered on his own as well as in a 2-pack with Skeletor. And some more multi-packs were offered. Manny Faces snuck into a Skeletor and Panther box set for some reason, and a pair of 3-packs were released, giving fans a chance to own some of the older figures again, along with one of the new ones. The Hero 3-pack of He-Man, Teela, and Ram-Man, and the Villains 3-pack of Beast-Man, Skeletor, and Faker. Although the mini-comics were still being released with the figures and vehicles and helped flesh out the world of Eternia, it wasn't until Mattel drew its sword aloft and called upon the power of Filmation
And the masters of the universe!
that many kids finally had a voice and spirit to go with He-Man, Skeletor, and their cohorts. Debuting on September 5th, 1983, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe took a brand that seemed to be all about barbarians and sorcerers fighting for power, and told a story about integrity, honor, duty,
You better do your duty.
Courage.
Courage means having principles and sticking to them, no matter what.
And the power of love.
Today's story was about love.
I wouldn't learn the phrasing until years later when Dan Millman wrote in Way of the Peaceful Warrior, "A warrior is not about invulnerability. A warrior is about absolute vulnerability. The vulnerability to be honest,
So remember, tell the truth and be yourself.
sincere, to show love, with no wincing, no, I hope that's okay, cautiousness." Mattel may have created the hulking body, but Lou Scheimer and his team gave He-Man his indomitable spirit,
And the first step is saying to yourself, I can.
his empathy, his grace and wisdom,
Remember, it's today that counts.
and his charm.
Tila, could you put your finger here for a second?
And for me, every time I hold a He-Man figure, I feel like there's a spirit surrounding him that he draws his power from. No, it's not just the spirit of Grayskull, it's the spirit of Lou Scheimer. The true power in the animated series was in the valuable life lessons that each episode dealt with.
Ramming things may look like fun, but it really isn't. It's dumb.
And deeper topics, like stealing, drugs,
Drugs don't make your problems go away. They just create more.
or inappropriate behavior. Lessons on how to build up your own sense of self-worth and confidence.
Intelligence, respect for others, and an unselfish desire to do good.
And the work and sacrifice you have to sometimes put in to feel good about yourself.
Remember, knowledge is power, and you can get the power.
I think it was one of the best shows to grow up on, to set a moral compass to. And I think the lessons in many of those episodes are just as powerful today as they were in the 80s. If you have kids and they haven't seen them yet, put a few on for them. You might just be surprised at how thirsty their young minds are for these kind of morally rich stories.
In today's story, I sure was busy.
Yeah, you sure were, Ramy.
I have to go now, but I'll be close by if I'm needed.
And so will I. Thanks for watching the History of Masters of the Universe 1983 edition. Hope you enjoyed. Big thanks to the Patreon tribe for all of your support. If you'd like to show support too, visit patreon.com/MichaelMercy. There are a number of different contribution levels with rewards for showing your support. $1 will get you 3 dozen and counting Patreon exclusive videos, ranging from collection showcases to convention walkthroughs to Patreon hangouts and G.I. Joe blueprint breakdowns. And higher levels offer ad-free advanced screenings of videos before they go public, and Patreon special missions requests. Got a master's memory? Scroll down and go to town. And to join the tribe, ram subscribe.
Until later, so long.
Nerd Mustache!